Welcome into another edition of First and Five with DM3. I am the host, DM3, one of the founders of Built in Buffalo. Alongside with me today is Anthony Romeo, one of the hosts of the Hoof podcast and the president of Built in Buffalo, and one of the hosts of Triple Coverage, Lance Nelson. We are going to do a schedule prediction. I'm sure you guys have all seen these everywhere out there in the universe, but this is going to be the Built in Buffalo version. Three guys, three different opinions. And we're going to kind of see where we land. You guys ready for this? What? Ready to go?
Let's go, baby.
Season's
upon us.
Yes, we are getting close. So, week 1, home opener, Bills Cardinals, 1 p.m. at good old Highmark Stadium. Lance, who you got in this game?
Bills.
All right. That's it? Easy peasy?
Yeah, there's it's an interesting matchup, though. The Cardinals' defense is going to be down, so the Bills are going to be able to score at will, I believe. We'll see what their offense kind of looks like when they take, all the minutia away, all the vanilla stuff away that they, we haven't seen anything yet. So we'll actually see what this thing looks like a little bit at least, and they should be able to move the ball at will. And then the Cardinals are explosive as well, so we'll see how that matchup turns out. But I think regardless, in a gunfight there, I think the Bills have more ammunition with Josh Allen to win than taking the Cardinals with Kyler Murray. So,
Anthony, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. This is a win for me. I think this is a good start to the season for the Buffalo Bills as they're built right now, because we have a lot of new pieces on offense. We're playing a kind of soft defense here, I think, at least in terms of who we have on the schedule. Certainly one of the softer defenses. And their offense can be electric, and we've seen that happen with Kyler Murray in Buffalo. But I just think overall our offense is going to be stronger than their defense. And our defense, even on a bad day where it gives up 20-something points, the offense is going to make up for it. So this is a comfortable win for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with both you guys. I think, yes, we don't know what the Bills' offense is going to look like. There is some turnover on both offense and defense, but I still feel like Arizona is in still somewhat, I don't want to say a holding pattern, but I still feel like they do need a few pieces to be competitive in the NFC. So I do think the Bills come away with a win in week 1. All right. Thursday night football. The Bills get 4 days after the home opener to travel to Miami. It's thankfully a Thursday night game. It's not being played 1 o'clock when it's 95 degrees outside. It's going to be at nighttime. So, Lance, what do you think about the Bills' first AFC division opponent game, week 2 against the Dolphins?
I have this one as a loss for the Bills. Unfortunately, I think short week early on in the season. I just think that this one could be one where the Bills drop it. Now, I understand that the Bills have had their way with Miami as of late, but I just think that, like I say, on the short week, early season, this is where they do stumble early and have this is a tough stretch to start the season, especially 2 through 6 here as we go through it. And I just think this one, like I say, on the short week and things, it's going to be a little bit tougher, and I have them dropping this one.
Anthony, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a win. I see your Josh Allen is dominant against the Miami Dolphins, and I'll raise you a Mike White, who the Bills picked up on the practice squad, who was just in Miami playing with them. So I think that could be part of the X factor that gives the Bills just the edge they need against a tough divisional opponent on the road. Plus it's at night, right? I was at the game a couple of years ago when it was 120 degrees on the field, and I was in the front row right behind the Bills bench. It was awesome, but it was, and I'm suited up in my Bills suit at the time, but it was quite the, I couldn't believe the players were out there playing on the field, and even the cheerleaders I felt bad for on the field that day. But this game being at night is going to make all the difference. I think there's no sun beating down on you for the entire game on your sideline and not theirs. So it takes that advantage away, which I think ultimately the playing field was leveled with the sun. So take that factor away. Now the Bills get the edge again. Plus our history against Miami up till this point, Tua and that team looks a lot the same. Their defense actually, to me, looks a lot weaker. And I think, again, that's where the Bills are going to take advantage is on offense. Our control the ball offense, which is different than what they've seen too from us, rather than going for big plays or whatever. I feel like the Bills are going to run the ball more, control the ball more, short passes, time of possession. That beats a Miami team who is more of a gung-ho, make a huge play type of team in my mind, at least. So those reasons gives me the edge to say we beat Miami in Miami this year in week 2. And I'll also be at this game, by the way, with my uncle who lives down in Fort Lauderdale. So excited to make it back for that game.
Nice. Yeah, I too have the Bills winning this game. I mean, there's a lot to be said. And Lance brings up some really valid points that Dolphins play different in the beginning of the season. Once the weather breaks and they start hitting teams down the stretch where it's not, the elements aren't in their favor. They're not playing, games where it's 75 degrees and above. But I do think, Thursday night football and Josh Allen in prime time in a somewhat controlled environment where it's probably going to still be, 80 degrees. I just like the fact that there's not going to be a ton of tape other than week 1 of what Joe Brady's done. And like Anthony said, I do feel like this is a game where they try to keep the Dolphins' high-powered offense off the field by running the ball with James Cook and Ray Davis. And then if they need to, they can score some points. And I like the Bills in this situation. Yes, it is a short week for the Bills, but I like the fact that they're not traveling across the country. It is down to Miami. The Bills have had luck in Miami, and I like the Bills to win this one. All right, we move on to week 3. Monday Night Football at home against Jacksonville. Lance, who do you got?
I got the Bills winning this one. Obviously, Mitch Morse and Gabe Davis coming back to Buffalo for the first game since they leave the team. It's going to be emotional. I think that the Bills get a little bit of a longer stretch here and a little bit of a break playing Thursday and then Monday. So, things with that loss that I had in Miami and my thought process was, okay, they come back with this one, kind of get redemption. They do have a little bit of an emotional roller coaster to ride on this one with Mitch Morse and Gabe Davis, obviously. But, I like the Bills' chances against the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, we'll see, what he can do with some new weapons there on offense. And, I think what happened last year potentially in England has the Bills ready to play and with a chip on their shoulder in this game.
Anthony, what do you got?
What is it about the Jaguars, man? I mean, for some reason, I just feel like this is a loss for the Bills. This is now coming off an emotional Miami game that's a divisional opponent. You're 2-0. You're going into Monday Night Football. And I just feel like the Jags are going to have an edge being they're playing at home, right? So that team has been an Achilles heel before for us. The London game, obviously, there's always something that seems to happen when we're playing Jacksonville and that, gives them a little bit of an edge. I do think the Bills are better than this team and will be favored in this game to win, and will be probably at least a touchdown favorite, but something about this game just tells me this is going to be that one early game, a game the Bills should win that they end up losing because there's always a game like that on the schedule. So I'm counting this one as a loss.
I have the Bills winning this game. I think that they exercise all the demons against Jacksonville. The playoff loss in 2017. You have the whole horrible game. What was it, 6-3 a couple years ago? You have the loss last year where they not only lost, but they had all the injuries on that horrible turf over in London. Yeah. And I just think that Josh Allen and Monday Night Football, it's like Lance said, there's an extra 4 days to prepare. You're coming off that Thursday game from the week previous. I like Buffalo in this spot. I'm not fully sold on Trevor Lawrence. I understand the contract that he got, but I mean, they picked up, Mitch Morse. Yes, cool story. I think we all love Mitch Morse. And then obviously they added Gabe Davis. So there'll be somewhat of an emotional roller coaster there for a little bit. But I just think that the Bills, like Anthony said, I think the Bills are a better team all around, offensively and defensively. And I think they come out with a win in this one. All right. So week 4, it doesn't get any easier. The Bills go to Baltimore Sunday Night Football to take on the Ravens. Lance, who do you got in this one?
I mean, McDermott's had the Ravens number from day one, in my opinion. So I'm going to keep going Bills on this one. I don't think that Baltimore is going to be able to beat Buffalo this year or any year with Lamar Jackson. We're going to force them into the things they don't do well, and they don't do them well. So they're not going to be able to take advantage of the Bills and really beat them I know the Bills secondary is a little bit different. Their safeties obviously are different this year, but I trust McDermott and them, especially by week 4, to have these guys playing up to snuff and being able to take away what the Ravens do well.
Anthony, what's your thoughts?
Thank you, Lance. I couldn't have said it better, right? Because this is a team that I'm sick of being overhyped. Baltimore is being overhyped in my mind. Eric and I on the Hoof podcast made our predictions for the season, and I actually have Baltimore not making the playoffs. And the reason for that is because when you look at their schedule, they play a lot of tough teams like Buffalo, like Kansas City. And I think that ultimately in that tough division, that's going to knock you down a couple pegs. And in this matchup, what I say all the time to people is Sean McDermott literally taught the NFL how to beat Lamar Jackson. Sean McDermott did. No other coach knew how to deal with him, knew what to do with him. Sean McDermott played him and limited him and almost stopped him from getting an MVP, right? So, I mean, that to me alone, Sean McDermott knows how to play against Lamar Jackson. Sean McDermott knows how to play against this type of offense, knows how to game plan for it. Plus the factor of Josh Allen and our offense with all the pieces Baltimore has lost. I am not high on them this year as much. Plus the factors of, Sean McDermott and everything else. I think this is a game the Bills win. Baltimore is a good team, and this isn't by any means an easy walk-through win, I'm saying, but I definitely think the Bills get the win here.
I agree with everything both of you have said. We always go into the Baltimore game the week before, leading up to it, saying, oh my gosh, how do we defend Lamar Jackson? But Sean McDermott finds a way. Going back to the most recent game where the Bills didn't play good at all until the second half, and then Josh Allen found a way. The Bills shut down everything that they were trying to do offensively. They played really well against the run. And like you said, Anthony, like Sean McDermott has figured out how to confuse the offensive play calling of the Ravens and how to use Lamar Jackson. I mean, we saw it in the divisional game in the postseason. We saw it a couple years ago. Second half, they made adjustments. And I feel like, to Lance's point, I think by week 4, we're going to know what this offense is for the Bills. We're going to know what the defense is for the Bills. And hopefully they're going to be healthy enough to put the team out there that's going to confuse Lamar Jackson to a point where I think the Bills come away with a win in this one. All right, so that's the first quarter basically of the season. We had the Cardinals, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, and the Ravens. So now we head into week 5. This is going to be a fun one for the national media. The Bills travel to Houston for a 1 p.m. game against Stephon Diggs and the Texans. Lance, who do you got in this one?
I took the Texans in this one in my prediction, and I think that Houston has a very dynamic skill positions. The Bills are also very skilled on defense, but with Diggs there now, maybe he's able to give the receivers some insight on these guys like Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford and whatnot, and maybe the defense from what he's seen in practice the previous years. And CJ Stroud has impressed. So for me, I see the Bills like you can't be perfect through this stretch, and this is where if they come off beating Baltimore, I just see a little bit of a letdown game maybe here traveling to Houston.
Anthony, what do you think?
This is definitely a tough matchup on the schedule, but when I look at, again, the matchups and the team, what I see is a confident and knows who they are, an experienced and well-worn Buffalo Bills team, well-rounded. That defense, that offense, Josh Allen, the new weapons, sure, but the team itself and the structure of the team and what they do is in place and is well established and is hard worn and proven. There's not a thing we haven't done. We faced Kansas City, we faced Super Bowl champions, all of that kind of stuff, MVPs, whatever. Houston is this budding new bride of the NFL. Now, I will admit that I was one of very few people who was high on them last year and said that they would be better and win more games. And people laughed at me in the preseason. And I was one of the few who said that, and they were. Now I feel like this is the season where once you raise those expectations, now you have to live up to them. And their team, their offense did get better. But when I look at it, I just can't get myself to say that young team is going to beat Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, and the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I don't care if you and I were out there catching passes, I'd still take Josh Allen and Sean McDermott to beat a good young team. And, when I think about playoff matchups, for example, this is one of the teams I'd love to play because they don't have that experience that the Bills do. They might have players that can match up, but it's, again, when it comes down to it, those type of games, what happens? It's always the better players, the better team, the better coaching. And to me, the Bills check those boxes. So although, I wouldn't be surprised if Houston is good enough to beat the Bills, I just don't see them getting over that hump now.
Gotcha.
So it's a win for me.
Gotcha. And I unfortunately, I agree. Everything you said, Anthony, was spot on, but I tend to agree because I think the losses are going to come somewhere. And I tend to agree with Lance only because I think the physicality of the game against the Ravens might show up in this game. And then you have all the emotional stuff that's going to happen all week with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen drama and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that the Bills aren't a better team than the Texans. I just think this is the tough game on the road coming off that Baltimore game. And I have the Texans winning this game as well.
And we're going to hate it because it's going to be,
Exactly.
Diggs beating the Bills. It's going to be the worst. It's, for the trash talkers and things like that. It's not going to be a good week if that happens for Bills fans. But I just, like you said, it's tough to have the team winning the first 5. This is a tough first opening 5-6 games here. And I just feel like we've, at some point, you get caught. And whether it's emotions and physical tiredness and things like that, you're going to get caught. And this is just the one I happen to pick, whether it's happens to be this one or another one of them. But one of the first, one of these week 2 through 6 games, definitely you got to figure them dropping. Now I had 2 of them. I had Miami personally. I had Miami and Houston, but I just think you do have to have, be realistic and say, look, on a vacuum, yes, the Bills definitely should win every game, let's say, but they're going to have these extraneous factors that they are human, and I just think it does definitely catch up by the time we go to Houston.
Gotcha. All right, so week 6, the Bills head to New Jersey to take on the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers, will he still be around week 6? I guess we'll find out. Lance, Bills' second AFC East division game. Who you got?
I got the Bills sending a message, and I don't know that's going to be very close to the game. We'll see what Aaron Rodgers looks like with that offense. They haven't really proven a ton to me. I don't think they're going to be vaunted or anything like that, and we'll see how good the defense, how healthy they can stay as well. So for me, I have the Bills winning, and I think it's a statement game for Buffalo.
Anthony, you agree?
I think that the Jets are, again, one of these teams that is so overhyped, overhyped. I mean, they've proven nothing to anyone ever, basically, right? None of these guys. The last time we saw Aaron Rodgers play a full season, he sucked. He threw more interceptions. He was not in it in his head. You could tell his heart wasn't in it. There's been still that same problem lingering, and now he's 2 years older than when we last saw him play a full season. And I mean, it's just ridiculous the hype this team is getting. I think they'd be better off if Tyrod Taylor were their starting quarterback. So I kind of hope Aaron Rodgers is still there. I just took a peek at their beginning of their schedule just to kind of give an idea of where these two teams will be at. I had us losing to Jacksonville, so that was the only loss I have so far. But the Jets schedule, I mean, 49ers week 1, Titans week 2, Patriots, Broncos, Vikings, right? Before the Bills. So they have 3 softball games before the Bills, and I still think they might be falling off the rails by this point in the season because they lose one of those games. If you lose to the Patriots and you're the Jets, if you lose to the Broncos and you're the Jets, that's going to be the #1 headline everywhere, no matter if the Bills are 5-0 and beat all these good teams or not. The headlines across the world will be Jets lose to Patriots or Jets lose to Broncos, because that's going to be the breaking news. And I just think this team is set up to fail even more because of the expectations in front of them. And the Bills, again, that consistency, the Jets play tough. The Jets have a good defense. I'm just not confident that they have playmakers on offense who are going to stay healthy and are going to be able to compete week in, week out. And so the Bills get a win here for me.
Gotcha. I was kind of torn when I was initially looking at this because Josh Allen does tend to struggle at times against Robert Saleh and the Jets defense. He does. I mean, it's go back to week 1 last year, right? I know there was a ton of emotion. It was 9/11. It was in New York. Like there was a lot of stuff that doesn't typically happen in a football game that happened. You know, the three turnovers and stuff like that. But I'm not sold on Robert Saleh as a head coach. I think he's a hell of a defensive mind. I think he can get his guys up to play, but where I think things lack, and Anthony, you brought up a good point about Aaron Rodgers. All the stuff that's going on with that locker room and everything like that. I mean, the younger players are going to feed into that stuff. Like you can't help but not. On top of the fact that his last season in Green Bay, he wasn't great. Now, was his heart in it? Who knows? But he's coming off of an ACL. He's 40 years old. He's probably going to be somewhat skittish in the pocket. And I know that Bobby Babich is going to be aggressive, especially that game with firing these defensive linemen and linebackers up.
100%.
So I think like Lance said, I think this is a statement game for the Bills. I think the Bills are sick of hearing about how good the Jets are. The Bills are sick of hearing about how good that defense is over there. And I think Josh Allen makes a statement. And Josh Allen, even though he does play occasionally not really good or below average or below Josh Allen's standards for us, he does have some wow moments against the Jets. So, I mean, I think this is a win for the Bills, and I don't think it's remotely close. And like Anthony said, I think that everybody is overhyping this Jets team, and we haven't seen them do anything, regardless of all the names on the paper. I don't care until we see it on the field. I'm never going to be sold on it. So I think this is the Bills in a big win here in Week 6. All right, so the Bills get back home, play the Titans. 1 p.m. game. I love Sunday 1 p.m. games. I think they're elite. Lance, who do you have in this matchup? Seemingly the Bills play the Titans almost every single season. I think it's becoming somewhat of a rivalry. So who do you have here 1 p.m. Sunday, Highmark Stadium, Bills, Titans?
Yeah, I think the Bills will win this one, and it's not going to be very close. I think the Bills are the superior team there. You have Will Levis at quarterback for the Titans, and they don't necessarily have they don't have Derrick Henry anymore. They don't have a vaunted running game, in my opinion, and I think that their weapons are lackluster compared to what the Bills bring to the table on defense, and I think the Bills can overwhelm them on offense as well with their running attack, and then being able to utilize the new weapons here in Buffalo.
Anthony, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think the Titans are a little bit being underrated based on what they can do on offense, but I still feel they have too many weaknesses. And again, they're not a team that's proven it. This is in Buffalo. This is another game where I don't see the Bills losing this game. I mean, the Titans are good enough that it could happen, but if it happens, we're all going to be very angry about it because it shouldn't happen, right? And again, Will Levis, what that offense can do, we haven't seen yet, but those weapons that they have are dangerous. I just think that, again, our defense, our offense at home, this is a win for the Bills.
Yeah, I agree with everything both you guys said. I think that losing Derrick Henry is going to be huge to what that team does offensively. Now, new head coach, maybe they have a new system that they want to roll out, but I'm not sold on Will Levis. He had some moments last year. Thank you for beating the Dolphins last year. I love that. And that epic comeback that they had. But I think this is another game where the Bills control the clock. They try to do things to try to be aggressive and be physical. And I just don't see on the offense or defensive line of Tennessee to be able to keep up with what the Bills want to do. So I have the Bills winning this game. And like I said, 1 p.m. Sunday games are elite. It's the best because you get to watch just about all the other games. When you have to sit around and wait for the Bills to play, you get very anxious throughout the day. So all three of us have the Bills beating the Titans. All right, week 8, the Bills fly out to the West Coast to play the Seattle Seahawks, 4 p.m. game. Lance, who do you like in this one?
I like the Bills in this one as well. It doesn't scare me to go out to Seattle and compete there. I think that the quarterback play for the Seahawks is one reason I think that the Bills are obviously going to have the advantage with quarterbacks in most every game, but this one I believe is going to be big enough to allow the Bills to win. I don't think that Seattle's going to be super competitive in this one.
Anthony, who do you got in this one?
Traveling to the West Coast is always difficult. I actually have this as a loss for the Bills because I love that Seattle has such a balanced offense, right? You're right. Geno Smith doesn't exactly inspire greatness, but he has the ability to have a great game and not surprise you. He's definitely got that talent in him. And they have a well-balanced run game on top of that. So if they can do their thing at home for them, Bills on the road here in Seattle, that's going to, be harder for the Bills to overcome. Again, what do the Bills like to do? Clock management, control the ball, score when you have possession. Seattle's very similar, right? They're going to control the ball. They're going to run it down your throat. And when you aren't watching, they're going to throw it to Jackson Smith and Jigba over the middle and, DK Metcalf on the outside. So they've got so many weapons that are just consistent. And I really love that about the Seattle team. I think they're one of the more underrated teams coming into the season. I have them making the playoffs in the NFC. And yeah, I think that this could be a big win for Seattle beating Buffalo.
I like it. I agree. Unfortunately, I agree with Anthony here. I don't, for some reason, I don't like this game. I don't like the West Coast trip. I don't like the travel involved. I'm not saying the Bills are not a better team than Seattle. To Lance's point, I believe the Bills have a better quarterback. I think the Bills have a better defense. But something about this matchup, like Anthony was referring to, I don't like how things match up. The games when we typically look at the games where the Bills will probably be favored and they should go out there and take care of business. These are the games where some weird things happen. It's a long road trip back there and back home, or out there and back home. This is one of those games in a weird stretch that I feel like it's a win for Seattle. I do like what Seattle is going to do offensively. Like Anthony said, they're going to try to control the clock. They do have some good weapons on offense. So I just think this is one of those games where it's not going to be expected, and the Bills are going to take a loss because, like Lance said earlier, I think the losses are going to come somewhere. I mean, I don't think this team is going to be perfect throughout the entire schedule, and I think this is one of those weeks. All right, Bills head back home Sunday, Week 9, 1 p.m. game, Highmark against division rival Miami Dolphins. Lance, who do you like in this one?
Got the Bills to win this one. Obviously, we talked about the Bills have had Miami's number, and they're at home here. I think early in the season, especially if they lose that first one in Miami, this is definitely going to be redemption, and I don't see the Bills losing at home to Miami.
Anthony, what do you think?
100% agree there. I have the Bills winning that first matchup, so there's no way I could convince myself that Miami's going to beat Buffalo in Buffalo. So I definitely, for all the same reasons, think Buffalo has Miami's number. It's put up or shut up for Miami, and they haven't been able to put up in Buffalo in a very long time. So count the Bills win there.
I agree with both of you. I think there's too much, and going through how I had the Bills losing to Seattle, I think this is a comeback game. I think this is a game where the weather's going to be nice. It's early fall. Pumpkin spice is going to be in the air. I feel like the Dolphins, once the weather hits like the 60s, and traveling to Buffalo, whether it's early in the season, late in the season, whatever it is, that road trip does not bode well for them. Plus, I think that this is becoming a part of the schedule where the Bills are going to start ramping up heading into the home stretch, which we'll get into. There's a ton of just brutal games coming up in this schedule. And I think this is a statement game for the Bills over the Dolphins. I think Josh Allen gets one of his yearly AFC Player of the Week awards against the Miami Dolphins. And I think that they show up, and there's probably going to be some seeding involved as far as the AFC East and the AFC playoff picture. And I think that this is where the Bills also make a statement and come out with a win in this one. All right, Week 10, the Bills head to Indy to play the Colts, another Sunday 1 p.m. game. Lance, who do you like in this one?
I got the Bills in this one. Young quarterback and, just not proven team yet. And I think that McDermott and the Bills handle business here.
Anthony, who do you got in this one?
This is another one where I don't want to overlook the Colts, right? They can be very electric on offense with Anthony Richardson and their weapons there. I like a lot of what they do. I think this is another team that's coming into the season underrated. However, I agree with Lance that this is a quarterback facing Sean McDermott's defense for the first time, and quarterbacks do not tend to do well when facing a great defensive coach like McDermott. for the first time, and he knows how to shut guys, similar to what we were talking about with Lamar, especially Lamar, who is running a lot, which is really where I think Anthony Richardson is right now. So, yeah, I just think the Bills have the advantage here. This would be another one where, would I be surprised if the Colts came out on fire and somehow found a way to beat Buffalo? No, but it would make me very, very angry, because I do not think that that team should beat this Buffalo Bills team. So it's a win for me.
I agree with, the sentiments that both you guys had. Anthony Richardson missed a ton of time last year. He's not a rookie per se, but he has not seen a coach like Sean McDermott. And we all know what Sean McDermott, like Anthony said, what he does to young quarterbacks. He confuses them. He throws blitz schemes. He moves the secondary around. He does all kinds of things with that rotation on the defensive line. I do like Anthony Richardson. I do like, what they're building in Indianapolis. And like Anthony said, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game for a while where it's like, okay, what's going on? When are we going to pull away? But I do think that Josh Allen's too much. I think the run game, there's going to be a heavy dose of, and I like the Bills to pull ahead and win this one. All right. Here's where the second stretch starts. The Bills get the Chiefs at home week 11. It's a 425 showcase standalone game. Highmark Stadium's going to be just crazy for this game. Bills Chiefs week 11. Lance, who you got?
Yeah, you're going the week before a bye week here. You got a tough stretch of games, like you mentioned. The next four are KC, San Francisco, the Rams, and Detroit. I think you split those four games. So this one I had as a loss, just for sake of like, okay, I think we're going to go 2-2 here in this 4-game stretch. I'll pick KC. We're looking forward to a week off at this point, and I think they just have our number in this game, and then we're able to hopefully go into the bye week and recoup. But yeah, for the Kansas City game, I have the Bills taking an L on this one.
Anthony, you agree, disagree? How do you feel?
Anyway, we could move this to week 19 instead of week 11, because, it's regular season, right? And we've seen this happen before. Kansas City Chiefs coming in probably 10-1, it's week 11. If they haven't had their bye yet, I didn't look, but 10 wins probably, they're coming to Buffalo. They're the darlings of the NFL. And what happens? We beat them. It's the regular season. The Bills get a W against the Chiefs. The Chiefs stink at playing the Bills in the regular season. And then they give us hope that we can beat them in the postseason, and somehow it goes back. But even this team, our team versus their team, roster-wise, what has changed? The Chiefs' defense, obviously still very good, but they've lost a couple key pieces there. The Chiefs' offense, I think, is going to be, again, where we can take advantage, and have really the last few times we played them, to beat them in the regular season. So, again, this to me is a more things change, more they stay the same. Regular season matchup. It's in Buffalo. Bills win, but I'm not going to be, pounding, the drum and saying, oh my God, we beat the Chiefs. I don't care. This is just another win in the schedule, another game. Until it's postseason, that's when it matters. I don't want any of the hype for this game. Just win it and move on. This is another game that I already have tickets to, so I'm going to this Kansas City game, and my expectation is that the Bills will win.
Yeah, unfortunately I agree with Lance on this one. I everything that you said, Anthony, makes 100% sense. The Bills and Josh Allen in the regular season seem to be able to, since 2020, the Bills have beat them in the regular season. That's not the problem. We don't have an issue playing them, whether it's at Arrowhead or whether it's at Highmark. The Bills, Josh Allen outperforms Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. But for some reason, this game right here, I guess it couldn't be placed any more perfect as far as the bye. You're going to get the bye week next, so you get time to rest up for that last stretch. But I think coming off playing Miami, which the team's going to be up for that game. I think the game against the Colts, say what you want, I think it's going to be a physical game. They're going to be coming off a win there, and I just think that this is going to be one of those games. I do, however, think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be, the Chiefs are going to win by 2 scores. I think it's going to be a close game. And dare I say, the Bills have a chance to tie the game and we get a Tyler Bass miss or something like that. This is one of those games, like Lance said, there's a stretch of games coming up here where they can't win all of them. They just, I just don't think that they can. They're not just built to win every single game. So I have the Bills taking a loss here in week 11 against the Chiefs. Week 12, we got the bye week. Then week 13, the next brutal stretch continues after the bye week, after the Chiefs game. The Bills at home, Sunday Night Football against the 49ers. Lance, how do you feel about this game?
Good. I got the Bills coming off the bye week, winning this game, and I think they're gonna get the rest they need. They might have some guys nicked up and things. So we're getting into the territory. No, not quite yet, with Milano returning potentially, but I just think that they're going to have their best effort here off the bye week against San Francisco, and I think they can put it together and win this game.
Anthony, what do you think?
So I obviously had us beating the Chiefs, and I somewhat agree with the sentiment of this is a tough stretch where I'm not expecting us to go win every game. And this is the first team that I look at on the schedule and I say they're better than the Bills. I think they have the experience factor that I've talked about with the Bills. They have that, right? More so. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. Right? This coaching staff is very good. This offense is very, very good. This defense is very, very good. And this is a bad matchup for the Buffalo Bills. So I just think all around, can the Bills beat them? Yes. Do I want them to? Yes. When it comes that week, am I going to explain on the hoof how much the Bills are going to beat them? Yes. But right now in my head, this is the one game that I'm like, look, this team's better than us. They should beat us, even at home. So to me, that's a loss.
All right. So to me, I agree with what both of you guys said, if that makes sense. I agree with Lance. I agree with Lance in the fact that the Bills should be up for this game. 2 weeks to prepare. Sean McDermott, 2 weeks to prepare for Kyle Shanahan's offense. We should be ready to go. But this is where I agree with Anthony, that it feels like every time we have a bye, we come out flat. Mm-hmm. I don't understand it. I'm not saying it's a McDermott thing, a Josh Allen thing. We always get so hyped for the bye. We're going to get healthy. We got 2 weeks to prepare, and then they come out flat. And I do feel like the team that you don't want to come out flat against is the team that everybody's picking to make it to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. They have a dynamic offense, probably have a top 3 defense. They have a really smart offensive-minded head coach. Say what you want about Brock Purdy as a game manager and elite quarterback, however you fall in line with that conversation. I just feel like this is one of those games where we're at home. They're coming to our place. We've had 2 weeks, and then something just doesn't click, and this game is just – they're just dragging their feet. I don't know what it is, but I do have the Bills losing this game, unfortunately, because I live, an hour from San Francisco, and I'm getting an earful of it every day about how good the Niners are. So I don't know. I don't like how they match up. I do like it's coming off the bye. Hopefully they get healthier, but for some reason, we get stuck after these bye weeks where we should just be prepared and be ready to go, and they just come out flat. I don't know. Maybe it's
I just got to say, you got to look at their schedule though too. They're at the Packers the week before. The Bills coming off a bye week. This team isn't going to be, this is one of those things where they may be getting worn down a little bit, and San Francisco doesn't come out with, firing on all cylinders either. So that's where I just think, the second game of a road trip here with the Bills coming off a bye week, that's too good for me to say the Bills are going to lose that, but to each their own.
Yeah. I mean, valid points. All right. Now, an odd stretch, because the 49ers, a West Coast team, came to the East Coast to play the Bills. Now the Bills are flying out to LA in week 14 to play the Rams, 425 game. Lance, how do you feel about a West Coast trip here?
I got the Rams in this one, coming off giving it all against San Francisco, and you're going across the West Coast there. I just feel like the Rams have enough firepower with Stafford and those, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua there. I just think that it's going to be a tough matchup, and you can say this one or the next one, but I feel like I'm splitting this thing up and saying, okay, we're going to go, we got 2 road games here. and I'm picking this one that the Bills lose against the Rams because of all the effort I feel like they're going to give to the San Francisco game to try to win that one at home. May be a lackluster performance here in LA.
Anthony, you feel the same way, or how do you feel?
I feel differently about this matchup. You know, if you would have asked me 6 months ago, I probably would have said, "Oh, that is a tough matchup, really tough matchup on both sides of the ball." But now where I think the Bills have the advantage is on defense. I have no idea what that Rams defense is going to be. They trade away a captain for a bag of beans. I mean, there's something weird going on there. They lose Aaron Donald, obviously. So I don't know that I trust the identity of this Rams team. They're going to know who they are by week 14. We're going to know who they are. So come in season, we might be saying, you know what, this is an easy win for the Bills because their defense can't do anything, right? We know that offense, assuming it stays healthy, can produce, right? They have a good quarterback. They got 2 great receivers. You know, they can run the ball well. So I believe in that part of it. I'm not saying this is going to be an easy win for the Bills, but this is now one of the games that I'm like, there's no way the Bills should lose this game, especially against an unknown defense that, you know, I don't know what they're going to produce on that team. So, yeah, or who's going to produce now because they traded away their best tackler. And again, it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. Lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, win to San Francisco. I said win the Chiefs, lost to San Francisco. Now I'm saying we win at the Rams, and that'll probably spoil for you what Lance and I are both going to say about the Detroit Lions coming up next. So, yeah.
All right, so I agree with Anthony on this one. I do understand where Lance is coming from with how the Bills are going to give it everything for the 49ers. I don't think that Josh Allen playing in a controlled environment is ever a bad thing. I do like the fact that he's playing in a stadium, and if you can go back and look at his record, wins and losses of playing in controlled environments. I do like Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua, and I think Cooper Kupp's going to have a bounce back year. But like Anthony said, what's going on with their defense? They lost one of the greatest defensive tackles in the history of the game. Their secondary is a mess. I don't know what's going on with their linebacking core. Maybe they'll be able to score some points, but I think Josh Allen will be able to score some points too. And I think by the time we get to week 14, the Bills offense is going to have a really nice identity. And if they need to control the clock, they're going to have that running game ability to control the clock. So again, when we make these predictions, a lot of things can derail all of our predictions throughout the season. There's injuries that could happen that could make things look a lot different once we're heading into that game. But if we're looking at this game, yes, I don't like the Bills ever flying out to the West Coast. It was one of the reasons why I chose them to lose the Seattle game earlier in the season. I think that Sean McDermott in his defense will be prepared to go up against Sean McVay, who's brilliant offensively. But the key is the Bills' offense against the Rams' defense. I don't know if there's enough firepower on the Rams' side of the ball to shut down what the Bills are going to want to do, and hopefully want to do willingly and whenever they want. So I have the Bills winning this game. All right, this might be the first one where we all agree based off of how we've all kind of led up to this chapter of the Bills schedule. Week 15 at Detroit. It's a 425 standalone game. I wouldn't be surprised based off of standings if this game's not flexed into a Sunday night game, depending on whatever else is going on at that point in time with playoff seeding and things like that. Lance, what do you have going on in this game, and who do you like coming out here?
I got the Bills winning this one, actually. I think that,
Really?
coming back, they're closer to home here. It's only a 40-minute flight to Detroit. And, I get that the offensive weapons and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta and Gibbs are all there. But I like the defense for the Bills to shut them down. And I like that, I don't know that their defense can do enough against the Bills to neutralize Allen in that offense.
Anthony, you agree, disagree? What do you got?
So I disagree. I do have this as a Bills loss. I think, again, when you look at the teams on paper, the Detroit Lions are one that I really, really like. And there's more questions that I have about our Bills than I do about this Detroit Lions team. And that to me gives them the advantage. They're playing at home. So that obviously is a plus for Detroit. And one of the X factors for me in picking this game is if you ask the Bills coaching staff, hey, who's the toughest coach to prepare for? Or who do you think about a lot? They've been asked that question, and you know who they say? The Detroit Lions. So they're telling us that if they have a game circled as the hardest game on the schedule this year, it's the Detroit Lions. It's not Kansas City. Been there, done that. It's not, all these other teams. Been there, done that. You could say it's San Francisco. They didn't mention them. It's the Detroit Lions, both on offense and defense, because of what they do creativity-wise, scheme-wise. Again, if the Bills' own coaches are saying they're tough to prepare for, then that's the game that I have circled to say we're going to be at a disadvantage in this game. And because it's on the road, I'm counting as a loss. I'm really hoping to be at this one, especially because I have a good friend who's a longtime Lions fan, and this is the first time in probably our entire lives that the Bills and Lions are both probably expected to win their divisions, and they're going to be playing each other. So I'm really hoping to get to that game to see it, even though even now I'm predicting the Bills to lose it.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony on this one. I understand everything that Lance is saying. I do think the Bills offensively match up well against Detroit defensively. I just think that Dan Campbell is a very unpredictable head coach, and he does things in games. I will say this. Sean McDermott, I'm glad, and this is kind of I'm going to go off topic for a second, but I'm glad Sean McDermott relinquished play calling duties to Bobby Babich defensively, because I think Sean McDermott needs to be focused on in-game management, crucial situations, fourth downs, challenges, 2 minutes of the game, things like that. And I think this is where Dan Campbell just throws a monkey wrench into this game, where the stuff that doesn't typically happen is going to happen. I think it's two high-powered offenses. I don't like the fact of coming back, and I'm going to harp on this the whole time, but I don't like coming back from the West Coast. It's a weird travel. Plus, Detroit is really good. They're talented all over the roster. And I think that this is a game when this schedule came out, I circled that game as, for the first time probably in my content creating career, a Detroit Lions game is going to be a game that I don't know if the Bills can go and win. I just don't. I think it's an odd matchup. And I just don't like where it falls in the schedule. It's week 15. It's been a grueling schedule at that point. And I also, by having the Bills lose this game, this is going to be Bills Mafia going into the sky is falling, because they've lost 2 of 3 in my schedule prediction. So I have the Bills losing this game heading into week 16. All right. Now we get 3 straight AFC East games. The Bills at home, Highmark Stadium, an elite 1 p.m. game on Sunday against the New England Patriots. Lance, who do you got in this one?
Got the Bills to win, hands down. This Patriots team's not going to be competitive, especially with the Bills this year. Later, they get all season to figure things out, and Drake May is going to be the starting quarterback by the time this game rolls around for sure. But I just think that, again, it'll be Drake May's first game against Sean McDermott's defense, and we talked about earlier how that works out for those people, and it doesn't. So I'm going to go with the Bills to win this one.
Anthony, you agree?
Ditto. Yes, 100%. I'm taking the Bills here, even with their whatever you want to say. Something happens, they're on the highest high. They switched quarterbacks 5 weeks ago, and now he's playing super well. It doesn't matter. You're running into a much better team, and I just don't see the Patriots competing with the Bills.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the point, to Lance's point. I think this is the point in the season for the Patriots where they might be like, hey, let's give these guys a look type deal with Drake May and some of the other younger talent. I don't see them being overly competitive for most of the season. They're just new coach. They're trying to get new things going. It's the post, Bill Belichick era. They're going to probably try to do some different things offensively, defensively. And the Bills at home, and during my predictions, the Bills, if they're coming off a loss to Detroit and they're at home, it's not a long road trip to get back from Detroit. I just think this is too much. And the Bills at home, 1:00 on Sundays, I'm not going to pick against that, especially the Patriots. I'm just not going to do that. So I have the Bills winning this one. Bills stay at home, week 17, AFC East division opponent, New York Jets, 1 p.m. again on a Sunday. Lance, who do you got in this one?
I'm predicting Matt Milano returns for this game, and I think the Bills are going to win in a rout of the Jets there. Emotional comeback for Matt Milano is my prediction for that game against the Jets week 17. And I think that the Bills will have a lot to prove there. It's going to be maybe a situation where you have to win this thing to get in your division standings and be at the top of it. And you may be directly competing with the Jets there for the top spot of the division. And I think the Bills get it done here, especially at home.
Anthony, how do you feel about this Week 17 matchup?
Yeah, it's to me, this is the chaos has already erupted for the Jets, right? There's people asking for trades. There's people asking to be cut. There's sitting out saying I'm not playing here anymore, and the chaos cannot rise above that level. And because of that, the Bills absolutely are going to win this game. I think even if the starters are still playing for the Jets, I don't think there's going to be any energy left in the room because of the disappointment. So yeah, Bills win this game.
I think too, we haven't really talked much on it, but this could be determining some playoff seeding. So
Yeah.
I absolutely think the Bills are going to come out guns blazing. Like Lance said, if Matt Milano hasn't returned already, this is probably a prime spot. Get him a couple games to get prepared for the postseason. And I think that if you get Matt Milano back in that building, the energy is going to just be electric, and it's going to be one of those things where everybody's playing for him and all that stuff. So I have the Bills winning this one. I don't think it's going to be remotely close. Who knows what the Jets are going to look like, as an organization. There could be coaches that are already gone at that point. Who knows if Aaron Rodgers is still playing, or the Jets could be what everybody's talking about, and the Jets are playing for playoff spots. So the Bills need to come out and give them everything they can. But I do have the Bills winning this one, and I'm pretty sure I can pick how the Bills are going to finish the season going to New England. Again, the time of this game has not been announced. I haven't seen it anywhere. I'm assuming it's going to be a 1 p.m. game. I don't know if there's going to be playoff implications, but for anything but the Bills at this point, depending on how that rolls out, if the Bills are, competing for the number 1 seed, or still competing with the Dolphins or the Jets per se for the AFC East, I think it's going to be a 1 p.m. game at Gillette. So, Lance, how do you have the Bills finishing the season Week 18, division rival Patriots?
She won't say no because of the implications. So I think that the Bills at this point, if they're locked up in the number 1 seed, maybe they rest guys and lose this game. But other than that, barring that scenario, I see the Bills coming out and wrapping up whatever they need to clinch, whether it be the division or conference seed 1 or 2. I think that they come out and win this game pretty easily.
Anthony, what do you think? Agree?
My initial thoughts are, who cares? That's what I feel about this game. That's what I feel
Stay
about
healthy.
Week 18. Who cares? This is the Mike White, Joe Andreessen, KJ Hamler game, okay? That's what I think this is going to end up being, right? Mike White starting, Joe Andreessen gets his first NFL start, Buffalo Joe, and, KJ Hamler gets called up from the practice squad to be the starting wide receiver because all of the other guys are rested. And even though we have the Bills with a very good record coming in here based on what we've all assessed, us three have assessed so far in this schedule prediction, I think Kansas City's already going to have the 1 seed locked up, and or the Bills will already have the 1 seed locked up, and this game will be irrelevant. So because of that, I have a hard time saying win or loss for this game at all, because I still believe Mike White and KJ Hamler and Joe Andreessen can beat this New England Patriots team. So ultimately, it's probably a win, especially if the starters play, but even if they don't.
Yeah, I have the Bills winning this game. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know. Like you said, Mike White could be starting at quarterback. We could get a heavy dose of Ty Johnson. Who knows? Maybe they call it Frank Gore for this game, Frank Gore Jr. for this game.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a game that they win. Again, Week 18 is always weird because you can lose and it doesn't really matter because you can't get the 1 seed, or you already have the 1 seed. You can't lose it. Depends on what happens with the Jets and the Dolphins as far as AFC East. Hopefully the Bills have wrapped up their 5th straight AFC East title, up to this point. This game doesn't really matter, but we've seen times when the Bills have played games that don't really matter and they go and they beat teams. So again, I have the Bills winning this game. So to wrap it up, did you know that there was not one single game that we all picked the Bills to lose? Not one single game.
Yeah.
We've all picked
Pretty good.
different spots throughout, where the Bills, would drop a game here and there, but there wasn't one game that we all picked the Bills to lose. So it's always interesting, to give perspectives. Definitely three different content creators here to get our minds together and to kind of, because, I think once we all started talking about why we chose one way or the other, there was a lot of good insight that came, whether it was a win or a loss, regardless. And that's why I kind of wanted to do this, because we get three different perspectives. I think that I'm pretty knowledgeable. I know you guys are really knowledgeable about the team and the game. And it's fun to put these things together. So overall, I have the Bills at 12-5. Lance and Anthony, you both have the Bills at 13-4. So collectively, the Bills are 13-4 according to our our predictions. And I don't have any issues with that at all. I could have leaned towards the Bills beating the Chiefs. I kind of wavered on that one a lot because of exactly why I said it, because they always beat the Chiefs. I think, Anthony, that was your reasoning behind that. I struggled with the 49ers game only because I really want them to beat the 49ers, because I think that's a showcase game for this team at that point in the season. A team that's projected to be in the Super Bowl, the 49ers, like wherever media outlet you look at. And Josh Allen in those games tends to put a stamp on, I am a top 2 quarterback. I can play with the big boys. And that was one of the games I kind of wavered on. So
I
how
tried
do
to
you
go a
guys
little reverse juju on that one though with the Kansas City. I'm like, all right, let's lose to Kansas
Lose
City
them in the regular
season,
Yes.
so we can. So that was really
I like
my
that.
my thing
like
on
That's where I
that.
went with
You know,
it
and
too.
I'll admit full well that I'm like, you know what? Let's just lose to them in the regular season,
And then
maybe
beat
that
them in the
gets us over the hump in
postseason.
the postseason, maybe. And that's really my thought on it. You know, as
And
silly as it
you
is.
talk about the Chiefs in the postseason, because I've been putting together, I got a string of Josh Allen things coming out because everybody knows that he's overrated and everything. So watching the Chiefs game and all the times when the Bills could have made plays, it's so frustrating because there's no absolute person on this planet that has somewhat of a football IQ that can say that there was no. You can't blame Josh Allen for anything that happened in that game. You can. If you want to be mad because he got bumped, because Dawkins got blocked into him when he would have hit a wide open Khalil Shakir, fine. There was so many drops in that game. There was so many times when it was 3rd and long or 4th and short, and he kept drives alive. Anyways, I digress.
Playing with AJ Klein coming out of retirement. I mean, that's just as much as you have
no
to say about
linebackers,
that,
no star cornerbacks. No, I mean, it was
So
one more player and we beat them there. That's it.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. So how do you guys feel overall? I guess we're 13-4. Do you guys feel confident that that's something that the Bills can attain? Before we wrap this up, we're just about hitting the hour mark. I wanted to go 30 minutes, but then I thought we had some really good dialogue with all the games and how each of us broke it down. So how do you guys feel overall?
What I really love, what I really love about this is 13 is our number based on what we've predicted here, but it gives you leeway, okay? The Bills lose one of those games we said they shouldn't somewhere, whether it's the Colts or whatever, Titans, one of those games that we should not lose, we lose. And you're still at 12 wins. You lose to Miami, whatever it is, and you're still at 11 wins. So I think the floor for this team is much higher than people are giving it credit for in the national media. They don't understand this team and this roster like we do, right? We're not out here predicting the Bills to go 17-0. We're not out here homering and pounding the table. We're being reasonable about the schedule that is presented to the Bills and their rosters that these teams that we're playing have, right? And when we do that, we get to 13 wins. And if we fall short and get 11, we probably still win the division. If we get 12, we're probably still competing for that number 1 overall seed in the AFC. So I really, really think this is where it fits. And that 13 win mark, even with the 2-2 stretch against those tough teams that we all agreed we would go 2-2 in, that, still comes out with 13 wins. So I like the ceiling of this team, again, assuming good health and prosperity, hope so, for all teams in the NFL. That's just how I see it. I like how this schedule works out in the Bills' favor ultimately.
Yeah, I like how the schedule is put together, and it's in such a way where you go through your first game, you kind of get hopefully a kind of a pass where you actually, it's not like you can go out there and give up. You have to compete in it, but I think you just are better than the team across from you, and you get the early confidence. So, and then it's 5 straight games, just tough, grind it out, go 3-2 type of thing. And then you get another stretch where you're just better than these teams. You should beat them. And then you get, your next stretch where it's KC through Detroit, and you go split those games, and then you finish up with the AFC East tilts that again, you're better than those teams, and hopefully that it allows you to seal your fate within the division and the conference.
My biggest thing whenever we do schedule predictions is when I think of how I predicted this win-loss total is a healthy Buffalo Bills team. Because I don't think we've gotten a fair assessment of how good this team is and how good they've been coached back because of the injuries. I mean, I'm not trying to throw excuses out there, but we lost Matt Milano. The year before we lost Micah Hyde. So McDermott is having to coach his ass off. We're already a little bit behind the 8 ball because we lost Milano to start the year. So a healthy Bills team on paper, I think, can match up with any of these teams that they're playing this season. Now, depending on the stretches that we talked about coming off a road trip or coming off of here and in the time of the season and coming off the bye, stuff like that is all going to play itself out. These guys are humans at the end of the day. I don't think they're going to win 17 games. I just want to, the only thing I can hope for is a healthy team, because we all know that McDermott is a hell of a coach and we'll get these guys ready week in and week out. That's all we can ask for. And like Anthony said, I think the ceiling is, or the floor is 11 wins. And I think in the AFC East this year, I think 11 wins you a 5th consecutive AFC East title. And then if other things happen, maybe they can squeak out 13 wins. So we'll see. It's all gonna start next week. Week 1 against the Cardinals. It's going to be a home game at 1:00. A nice way to start the season, kind of ease into the rest of the way. So for Anthony from the Hoof podcast, from Lance from Triple Coverage podcast, I'm the founder and I'm the founder and the owner of Built in Buffalo, Dave Myers. This is our record prediction. Drop in the comments what you guys think. Did we hit it on the head? Did we fall short somewhere? Where do you differentiate from what we got going on there? Let us know. Thank you for watching. As always, go Bills.